Hey there, cosmic explorers, and welcome to the Zodiac Psycho Podcast. Don't forget to visit the links in the description below for amazing offers. You know, a lot of us like to dip our toes into the astrology pool, checking those daily horoscopes, hoping for a lucky break. But today we're diving into the deep end, with a concept that's way more intricate and, dare I say, fascinating: the progressed moon phase.
It's fascinating because we're moving beyond the typical sun sign astrology that many are familiar with. We're talking about a 30-year cycle, a cosmic roadmap for your personal development, if you will. Think of it as having chapters in your life, each ruled by a different phase of this lunar cycle.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. We all know about our birth charts, right?
Yeah.
That planetary snapshot of the moment we were born. But what happens as we evolve and grow? That's where this whole progressed moon thing comes in.
Exactly. The progressed moon isn't about the actual physical movement of the moon across the sky. It's more of a symbolic progression calculated from its position in your birth chart. Imagine a clock superimposed on your life with each phase of this moon cycle lasting roughly 7.5 years, totaling that 30-year cycle we talked about.
All right, picturing this cosmic clock. I'm intrigued, but how does this symbolic movement work? Do we need to pull out our protractors?
No protractors needed. Thankfully, the progressed moon is considered to move about 13 degrees per year. Now that might sound random, but here's where it gets interesting. The sun in this symbolic progression moves much slower, only about 1 degree per year. It's this difference in speed that creates the dynamic interplay between the sun and the moon, leading to these fascinating phases.
Hold on, my mind is slightly blown. So the moon is basically speeding ahead of the sun on this cosmic clock.
Yeah.
But what does it all mean? What do these phases actually reveal about a person's life?
This is where we get into the juicy stuff. We have 4 main phases: the new moon, first quarter, full moon, and last quarter. Each of these carries specific psychological and, of course, astrological significance.
Okay, hit me with it. Let's start with the new moon phase. What's the energy like during that first 7.5-year chunk of the cycle?
The new moon phase is all about fresh starts. It's like a cosmic reset button. Think exploration, planting seeds for the future, and a sense of limitless potential. But just like a blank canvas, it can be exciting and a little daunting at the same time, right?
So are we talking about that feeling when you graduate college, move to a new city, or even just start a new job? Potential everywhere, but also, where's the instruction manual for life?
That's a great analogy. It's a potent blend of excitement and maybe a little bit of what have I gotten myself into? Astrologically, this is when the progressed moon and sun are conjunct, meaning they occupy the same position in the chart, amplifying those themes of renewal and reinvention.
It's like the universe is saying, okay, go create your own adventure.
Yeah.
Now, what about when we hit that first quarter phase? Does the energy shift dramatically?
It definitely does. Things get real. This is when the progressed moon squares the progressed sun. Now, when planets square each other, it creates a bit of friction, a dynamic tension. It's no longer a smooth, easy ride. We're encountering our first cosmic roadblocks.
So less dreaming, more doing, more facing challenges head on.
You got it. The rubber meets the road during this phase. They're not there to break us. They're there to build resilience, strength, and even a clearer sense of purpose.
I'm starting to see how these phases actually mirror those natural ups and downs we all experience. All right, let's talk about the full moon phase. Moon opposing the sun sounds intense.
The full moon phase is all about culmination. Big realizations, aha moments. It's like the universe flips on the spotlight and suddenly things that were murky become crystal clear. Think clarity about life direction and reaping what you've sown during those previous phases.
Hold on. Is this where we finally figure out why we made that questionable decision 5 years ago? Everything suddenly makes sense.
It can feel that way. It's definitely a time when things come to a head, emotions might be heightened, and there's a deeper understanding of yourself and the path you're on. And you know, that understanding, that clarity can bring a sense of peace, even if the journey to get there was a little bumpy.
Wow. I can see how understanding this cycle could be incredibly helpful. It's like having a cheat sheet to navigate the emotional roller coaster of life. But what about the final phase, the last quarter? I feel like it gets overlooked sometimes.
The last quarter is often seen as a time of winding down, but it's actually incredibly important. It's another time of squaring energy. But instead of facing outward challenges, this is about turning inward, reflecting, and letting go. We're preparing for the next new moon, that fresh start waiting for us on the other side.
So it's not just an ending, but almost like an integration. You're learning from the full cycle and shedding what no longer serves you to make space for what's coming next.
Beautifully put. It's about acknowledging that every ending contains the seed of a new beginning. And that's the magic of the progressed moon cycle. It reminds us that growth is a continuous process.
This is fascinating stuff. But how can we use this knowledge in a practical way? Can we actually plan our lives around these phases? Should I be scheduling all my major life decisions for new moon periods?
It's not so much about rigidly scheduling your life around these phases, but more about understanding the natural flow of energy they represent and aligning your efforts accordingly.
Okay, so it's more about having a framework to understand what's happening internally and using that awareness to navigate life's ups and downs. Imagine feeling frustrated by some obstacle in your life, but then you realize, hey, I'm in my first quarter phase. Makes sense. It's like having a cosmic permission slip to feel those feelings and knowing that it's all part of a larger process.
Exactly. It's about working with the cosmic energies, not against them. Instead of asking, why me? You can ask, what is this phase trying to teach me? It shifts your perspective entirely. Welcome back to the Zodiac Psycho podcast. Before we take a short break, we were discussing how understanding your current progressed moon phase can really give you a whole new perspective on what you're experiencing in life.
It's like having this cosmic cheat sheet to decode your own emotional landscape. You know, if you're feeling super restless and drawn to all these new shiny things, maybe you're in a new moon phase. Or if you're going through some seriously tough challenges, perhaps it's that first quarter energy pushing you to level up.
Right on. It's about recognizing those overarching energies and themes likely to be playing out during each phase rather than trying to use this to predict very specific events.
Okay, let's get even more granular here. We've talked about the new moon phase being all about fresh starts, but what does that actually look like in a tangible way? Give us the real-world examples.
Well, picture this. You're in a new moon phase. You might suddenly feel this magnetic pull towards new experiences. Maybe it's a brand new relationship, a sudden urge to switch career paths, or even just a deep craving to travel and explore the world. It's like that part of you that craves novelty and taking risks gets supercharged.
So it's like that feeling after graduating college or ending a long-term relationship where you're standing on the precipice of a new chapter, equal parts exhilarated and totally terrified.
Exactly. And here's the thing. During this phase, you're not supposed to have all the answers figured out. It's more about giving yourself permission to explore, experiment, and see what lights you up. Think of it as cosmic playtime.
So leaning into intuition and trusting your gut is key during this new moon phase. No overthinking allowed.
Overthinking is the enemy of the new moon phase. This is about tapping into that inner voice and letting it be your guide. Don't be afraid to try things, even if they seem a little out there. You never know where they might lead you.
I love that, giving ourselves permission to be beginners again and embracing the unknown. Now let's shift gears to that first quarter phase where things tend to get a little more, how do we say it, challenging. Can you give us some real-life scenarios of how those first quarter challenges might show up?
Sure. Imagine you're cruising along, working hard towards a goal. You're putting in the effort, but it feels like you're hitting a wall. The results you were expecting aren't materializing. Or perhaps you're in a relationship and you hit this seemingly impossible to resolve conflict. These are classic first quarter experiences.
Ugh, I can feel the tension just thinking about it. So we're talking about that feeling of putting in the work, but not seeing the payoff yet. Or maybe feeling like you're clashing heads with someone no matter what you try.
And it can be incredibly frustrating, right? But here's the thing. These challenges, however much they make us want to pull our hair out, are actually huge opportunities for growth. They force us to step outside our comfort zones, to sharpen our skills, and to become even more determined.
So it's not about trying to avoid these inevitable challenges, but learning to face them head on, and maybe even embrace them a little.
Exactly. The first quarter phase is like boot camp for the soul. It's where you forge resilience and build that unshakable inner strength to overcome whatever life throws at you.
Okay, that reframes those frustrating experiences as opportunities rather than setbacks. I like it. Now onto the full moon phase. We've talked about those aha moments, that feeling of things culminating. What are some signs that someone might be approaching or smack dab in the middle of a full moon phase?
Well, imagine this. You've been grappling with a problem, a decision, a situation, and it's been feeling like a tangled mess. Then suddenly, as if by magic, it all clicks into place. The fog clears and you have this surge of clarity about your direction. It can be incredibly profound, a real turning point.
So it's like those classic light bulb moments where everything suddenly makes sense.
Precisely. And let me tell you, it can be an emotionally charged experience. It might bring relief, joy, a sense of validation, and even a little sadness as you process all these realizations and integrate them into your sense of self.
It's like all those struggles, all that hard work of the previous phases are finally bearing fruit. You get to see the bigger picture and it all starts to feel worthwhile.
And it's crucial to allow yourself to really feel those emotions, whatever they may be. The full moon phase is about acknowledging your accomplishments, taking a moment to celebrate how far you've come, and honestly releasing anything that's no longer serving you.
It sounds like a powerful time for both reflection and a little celebratory dance party, maybe both at the same time.
I'm all for a celebratory dance party, especially during a full moon. Now let's talk about that often overlooked but equally important last quarter phase.
Welcome back to the Zodiac Psycho Podcast. We've been on quite a journey through the cosmos today, exploring these progressed moon phases, and honestly, my mind is buzzing with all this new insight.
It is remarkable how these cycles can shine a light on our personal growth journeys. It's like suddenly having this decoder ring for understanding our own emotional patterns and those recurring themes that keep popping up.
Totally. And one of the big takeaways for me is that these phases aren't just about passively observing our lives, but about actively aligning our actions with the energy of each phase. It's like having a cosmic strategy guide, but one you have to actually use to level up.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about trying to control these cycles or force things to happen, but about recognizing the natural flow of energy and working with it instead of against it. Like a surfer riding a wave, you got to find that sweet spot.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. If someone's listening and thinking, this is all fascinating, but how do I actually put this into practice in my daily life? What's the first step? What would you say?
Well, the first step is knowing where you are on the map, right? I'd encourage everyone to calculate their progressed moon phase. We'll make sure to include some helpful links in the show notes to make that easy. Once you know which phase you're currently in, you can start to consciously align your actions and intentions with that specific energy.
Makes sense. So let's say someone is in a new moon phase, that time of new beginnings. Should they be putting their pedal to the metal, going full steam ahead with starting a new project or taking a leap of faith?
It's the perfect cosmic climate for it. This is the time to be bold, experiment, embrace the unknown. If you've been dreaming of launching a business, writing a book, or even just trying that pottery class you've been eyeing, the new moon phase is like a green light from the universe.
So step outside that comfort zone, folks. The universe is basically cheering you on. Now, what about someone in a first quarter phase where the energy is all about facing those challenges and building resilience? Any advice for navigating that cosmic boot camp?
Remember those challenges. They're not setbacks. They're opportunities for growth disguised as obstacles. It's time to dig deep, hone your skills, and remember that with each obstacle you overcome, you're becoming even more resilient and resourceful.
It's like that classic saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right. And the full moon phase, that time of culmination and big realizations, what can someone do to really harness the power of this energy? That sounds like a potent time.
Absolutely. It's the perfect time to step back and reflect on your journey. Acknowledge your accomplishments, celebrate how far you've come, and this is crucial. Release anything that's no longer serving your highest good. Whether it's limiting beliefs, negative thought patterns, or even relationships that are draining your energy, the full moon is a time for a cosmic decluttering.
So it's like a cosmic cleanse for the soul, creating space for the new to emerge. And finally, the last quarter phase, the time of reflection and letting go. What wisdom would you share with someone who's entering this phase? It often gets painted as a bit melancholy, but I'm sensing there's more to it.
There's a beautiful stillness to this phase. I'd encourage embracing the quietude. It's a time for deep introspection, for connecting with your inner wisdom, and for letting go of any attachments to the past, especially those things you can't control. This is a phase of surrender, trusting that even in endings, there are always new beginnings waiting to unfold.
That's a powerful reminder, especially in a world that often glorifies the hustle and the constant striving for more. Sometimes the greatest growth happens when we surrender to the natural flow of life.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're part of something much grander than ourselves, these cosmic cycles that have been weaving their magic for eons.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling incredibly inspired after this deep dive into the progressed moon phases. It's like a whole new level of self-awareness has been unlocked.
Me too. It's a beautiful reminder that we all have this incredible capacity for growth and transformation within us.
And we have the power to choose how we navigate the journey. So dear listeners, go forth and explore your own cosmic roadmap. Calculate your progressed moon phase, embrace the energy of each phase, and watch as your life unfolds in ways you never imagined. And don't forget to visit the links in the description below for amazing offers.
And remember,
until next time, keep shining bright.